what we want to talk about right now is virtual reality and augmented reality. Yeah, let's begin. What is it? What is virtual reality? What is augmented reality? What I want to focus on and what I want to kind of describe here is, let's say, the higher level concepts. I don't really want to get into the nitty-gritty of the technology, simply because the technology is moving so fast that what I could tell you about what we're using in terms of equipment and techniques right now will be outdated in 3 months. So, you know, when I started working with this stuff, it was like GoPro cameras taped to each other. In the next month, Google will release a very affordable and very easy to use stereoscopic camera, which is awesome. So it's not really worth talking about the technology, but what I want to talk about is what makes this medium new, unique, and important. And the core of that is this concept of immersion. So immersion is basically the idea of being completely surrounded, being completely absorbed, being completely within an experience. So in your day-to-day life, you're immersed naturally, right? But now with virtual reality and augmented reality, we can sort of place you in immersive environments that we have created. So for the good and the bad, it's a very interesting development. Okay, cool. So there's 3 things that make up virtual reality. Let's start with virtual reality, and then we'll go to augmented reality. Virtual reality is comprised of, let's say, 3 major concepts. The first is 360-degree video. Now this can be video recorded through camera, or this can be video completely generated through CGI, computer-generated images. But the idea is that you're basically creating an image that when you look at it on a normal video player, looks very flat. But this image was comprised of the stitching together of multiple cameras, right? So if you have 6 cameras and you put them in a kind of an orb around each other, around a single point, and you're recording 6 pieces of video, you're going to take those 6 pieces of video and comprise them into one image. That image will come out as this sort of distorted image. And then when you put it into a virtual reality player, the player contorts that image into a sphere. You are in the center point of that sphere, and all of the distortion disappears. And then the next interesting thing is when you're inside, no, let me get to that later. Okay, so next is spatial audio. Good. So when you're standing inside of a 360-degree video, you have an image that wraps completely around you. But now you also have the potential to have a soundscape that wraps completely around you. What does this mean? Basically, let's think of it like this. When somebody is standing next to you and they're talking to you, and you notice that they're talking to you, right? And it intrigues you, and it catches your attention, and you turn your head, immediately you'll notice a changing quality of that speaking, right? It just simply has to do with the way acoustics work. Now we can simulate that experience through spatial audio. Whereas previous film convention, got pretty advanced with things like 7.1 Dolby Digital Sound, where you have different speakers surrounding you, and each one of those speakers is assigned part of the sound. Now you have these virtual speakers that are seamless around you. So that's pretty amazing. This really enhances the immersive experience, because it's not just that you're turning your head and seeing something different, you're turning your head and seeing and hearing, and that sound changes dynamically as you move your head position, as well as the image. Then the next thing that makes virtual reality is the controlled gaze. So what does this mean? You've got this huge video space surrounding your head, but you're not seeing everything because it's similar to your normal vision. Your normal vision is incredibly limited. The space that your eyes can actually see is very small. This is called the viewport. And so that viewport is somehow attached or is oriented with the orientation of your head. So as you move your head, you move the viewport. So while you're looking over here, you're obviously not seeing something over here, and you define the frame. The user is now in control of how the film or the experience is framed. This is super interesting from a filmmaking standpoint, because as filmmakers working two-dimensionally, we were always the dictators of what the viewer would see. We were always in control. We were using different lenses and different editing techniques to establish different rhythms and different ways of directing the viewer to exactly what we wanted them to see. Now in this mode of working, we lose all of that control. There's tricks that we can play with, like with spatial audio. We can have, let's say, like a plane flying by over here, and we can attract the viewer's attention over there. But that's no guarantee. So one of the things that we have to learn as filmmakers, conventional filmmakers, is that we're giving up a lot of that control. And we have to be okay with that. And that makes a lot of filmmakers nervous, because filmmakers by nature are control freaks. So it becomes a little bit of a Zen exercise for us. Yeah, great. What's kind of cool, or what are the benefits though of giving up that control and giving it to the viewer? This means a greater sense of engagement on the part of the viewer. Yes, Michaela? Is there something you'd like to add to the class?
No, it's just together with the filmmaker. That's
Yes.
makes me smile.
Because you know filmmakers, one or two. So the viewer is totally engaged. The viewer is no longer passive, but the viewer is an active participant in the creation of the experience. And the experience is unique specifically to the viewer. I can watch a VR experience and see it completely different than Michaela will see it, and we can have this conversation. Did you see that? No, but did you see that? Every time I go back to watch or experience the experience, it'll be unique and different to me as well. So let's say from like a business or a marketing standpoint, the added value of the repeated viewer, the repeated audience is like exponentially larger. I'm not just going to watch it once. I'm going to watch it 2, 3, 4 times to see everything that I may have missed. So that's great. Virtual reality, in my opinion, is an incredibly powerful storytelling tool. And it has a lot of, like, let's say, entertainment value. It has a lot of ability to really place you in a place that you would normally not be able to access. And what is, well, I think I get to that at the end. Okay, good. Because this is like the really deep part and the best part of, I think, virtual reality. But I'm gonna hold off on that. Oops, wrong way. Good. Yes. Now we're here. Good. So with these 3 concepts that I described before, in combination with each other, the result is immersion. And so I kind of gave you let's say like a technical description of what immersion is. It's that you're surrounded by information, by data, by video and sound. You're surrounded, but you also have the ability to kind of control or have control over this. That's the technical explanation of immersion. But really what immersion means is empathy. The reason that I was convinced that virtual reality was like something to get involved in as a storyteller myself, I saw this documentary produced by the New York Times. It's called The Displaced. I was just telling you this story. Basically, it's a documentary that encounters the lives of kids in either conflict zones or in refugee situations, crisis situations. This guy is standing in a school in Donetsk, Ukraine. And the way that the filmmakers produced this moment, they basically just sat the camera in front of the kid, and you become the camera, you become the embodiment, you have control of the gaze, it's your point of view. You're completely engaged with this kid. You're making direct eye contact with him. He's looking at you, you're looking at him, he's confronting you, you're confronting him. And it becomes awkward because it's an extended moment. And to avoid that awkwardness, your only choice is to look away, to break his eye contact, break his gaze. But when you do that, you realize that you're standing in a school that is covered in bullet holes and has been completely destroyed. So again, that awkwardness returns. And no matter where you look, you realize, I mean, you can take off your headset and you're back in Burma, but he's there. He's not going anywhere, right? And that's empathy. And from having a higher degree of empathy, you get resonance. This image, this experience, sat with me for a long time. I didn't forget it. I still think about it. Sometimes it pops up in a dream. Yeah? So if, conventional cinema, I think we're all pretty used to it by now. We've become pretty desensitized. I mean, this is why the studios have to create these higher, greater, over-the-top storytelling bullshit, which just becomes like the same kind of formulaic bullshit over again. The world is about to destroy it. Every movie that's come out of a major studio in the last 5-10 years, it's like the stakes are so high that it's just not even you can't even engage with it anymore. And you just walk out of the theater like you've just seen nothing. But this sticks with you. If you want to be cynical about it, for marketing purposes, the type of engagement that you can create with your customer and the resonant experience that they have connected, associated with your brand afterwards. I mean, it's profound. The next time they go to the store to to choose between a Coke or a Pepsi, which one are they going to choose? But then, from a storytelling perspective, right? I mean, this particular documentary got a lot of attention. I don't know what the real world impact of it was, but I'm sure there were some people that were confronted with a reality that they didn't even know existed, and maybe that changed how they went to the voting poll, for example. Good. So that's virtual reality. Whoop. What was that one? Oh yeah, so what are some of the use cases for it? I guess I kind of described that actually. But entertainment is one. Education is great. If you have kids who are inundated with media every day, and it's becoming harder and harder for adults as well, for anyone to just kind of maintain their attention on something, then completely remove them from the environment that's creating so many distractions and place them in an environment that, I don't want to say they can't escape, but that they're immersed within, and that all of their attention can be focused on the education that you're trying to deliver to them. Is it okay if I mention, Chris? Is it okay if I mention kind of the thing we're kind of developing? So Chris has a very successful startup that is focused on education through kind of a very cool holistic method where people get to decide what they want to learn, and they're connected directly to one-on-one coaching. And so with virtual reality, there's the possibility that we can extend this globally. So if you're learning a language, for example, imagine entering a live broadcasted immersive experience with somebody who's sitting in Spain in a cafe. And so now you can sit in that cafe with them and practice Spanish while reading the signage that's around, while hearing the waiters, while hearing the people around you speaking Spanish, right? We to be honest, the first time I heard the word immersive was when I was first studying a language. And the teacher would say, look, you're not going to learn a language unless you're fully immersed in it, right? fast forward to where we're going right now, there's potential. And then branded content. And this one is kind of interesting because remember when I mentioned that the viewer is controlling the viewpoint? The viewer is controlling the gaze? Well, while the viewer is controlling the gaze, we on the other side are monitoring how they're watching that. We're monitoring how they can control that gaze. So, for example, a virtual reality film that has a product placement by BMW, we can tell BMW that the viewer watched their car go by for 3.2 seconds and 80,000 views did that. And then BMW can immediately recognize the effectiveness of their product placement as well as who was watching that. So they can directly notice if they targeted and accessed the audience that they were interested in accessing, and to what degree of engagement. So that's pretty cool. Can we save questions to the end? Thank you.
Who will own the technology?
We're going to save questions to the end, but thank you.
Who will own the technology?
We will.
Thank you. We are.
Yeah, well, okay. We have a meeting with EPFL tomorrow, and we will, and as a result of this meeting and with the relationship through CTI, you guys know CTI, we will have exclusive access to this technology. So, yeah.
We have to cut that out from the video prospect.
Yeah, please.
We are friends.
That's off the record. Just one more thing about that. The guy who runs the lab that has developed this technology, he is also the guy who invented the file format JPEG. So that's pretty awesome.
You know JPEG?
Everyone who's ever taken a photo and you import it and it says .jpg, he invented that. Also MPEG, which changed the film industry. Right. Anyways, it's nice to be in Switzerland, right? Good. So, augmented reality. This one is cool. I mean, virtual reality is cool. Augmented reality is also cool because now what we're talking about is not exactly immersing you in a new environment, but altering, manipulating the environment that you're already in by adding layers on top, by enhancing that experience, by giving you, for example, immediate information that you might need in the moment, but you would waste time searching for. Yeah. What it is basically a screen that's in front of your face that's semi-transparent or transparent. This screen is displaying images, and those images are, through different types of tracking processes, integrated with the environment around you, right? So when you're wearing some type of augmented reality device, like for example a HoloLens, you can be observing an object that's sitting on this table, you can walk around it, you can get an impression of it, you can even interact with it because it's tracking your actual hands, so you can pick it up. You would need a special glove for haptic feedback to feel the weight or the vibration of it, but you can pick it up and you can manipulate it and you can move it around. So now you can start to imagine the possibilities for anyone in any kind of industry of how this type of technology might be useful. Think about if you're working in a warehouse and your employees, your warehouse workers, are able to go up to an object and immediately see how many are left in stock and where the other ones are located. You just have real-time data in front of your face and your hands are still free. That's cool. So that's the interactivity, and the controlled gaze comes with that as well. Now, what I'd like to show you is, we didn't make this. This is something I found on YouTube, but it's very dark and a very cynical illustration of what the world of augmented reality might look like. If you kind of step away from the cynicism and the darkness of this film, you can actually see some real use cases for your businesses.
And it's happening already right now. If you're going now actually to Micro and you use the Micro app, you can see already real life data to the products you want to buy through your smartphone by just holding the product in front of the camera.
Do we have audio? Or is it just from the laptop?
Which
yes, put
laptop
from
is
the
it?
laptop. It's okay. We don't need to
Okay, great.
activate it.
Great.
It's okay from the laptop. We
So,
don't-
so we'll just watch like 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll fast forward to the best part.
Can you turn on the speakers?
I don't know. Can I?
With the mic.
Hold on. No, I got. You have to change the output. Boom. Good. Who here speaks Spanish?
Seguro que no hay más trabajos disponibles. Estudio para ser profesora y estoy haciendo mercados.
Y además puedes quedarte con los puntos de fidelización. Eres una noche afortunada. Tienes que confiar en la aplicación. ¿Te sientes inspirada? Gracias. Chao.
¿Quién soy yo? No lo sé.
Life becomes gamified.
No. Puedo volver a empezar. Olvídalo.
Estoy libre de mi ira. Estoy libre de mi tristeza.
Okay, cool. So you kind of get the idea, and then
Cállate.
yeah. And she gets a virus.
Buen día, Emilio. ¿Qué puedo hacer por usted?
¿Qué está pasando? Mis puntos están bien.
No se preocupe. Sus puntos están seguros conmigo. ¿Le puedo ayudar en algo más, Emilio?
Yo no soy Emilio. Yo soy Juliana Restrepo.
Por favor, espere.
Hola, Juliana Restrepo. Me alegra verte. ¿Qué puedo hacer por ti?
Mis puntos están bien. ¿Qué está pasando?
Tranquila, todo está bien. Parece que alguien está intentando vulnerar su cuenta. Por favor, espere, reinicio su dispositivo.
Right? Life is horrible. For example.
Hola, Juliana. Me alegra verte. Hoy te ves hermosa. Estás estrenando su
Ya lo arreglaron. Tengo que seguir trabajando.
Good. If anyone's interested, I can send you the link to that video. That's basically the end of my presentation. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to give an overview. If you guys are interested in some of the finer concepts or some of the technology that is available, or see any potential added value for what you guys are doing, give me a call.